Welcome in postpravda.info. Today we will talk about a topic very important for, I will say, whole Polish society, because Polish society was very much divided by this topic. And our guest today is Jessikka Aro. Hello, Jessikka.
Hello.
Jessikka tried to answer for many questions that many people in Poland is still asking themselves and waiting for the answers, waiting to know what really happened in Smolensk in 2010. Your book, how did you find out actually to write a bit about this kind of topic, because it's very controversial in Poland, and as you probably know, Polish society is divided by in half about this topic. One side of the society believes that it was the attack, the Russia has been involved in killing 96 people, but the second part of the society thinks that it was only the accident without any Russian involvement. We definitely not gonna decide today what really it was, but I want to discuss with you how did you find out at the beginning? This is my first question, to actually concentrate on this topic.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be speaking with you today. I'm truly looking forward to it. About Smolensk, it really combines many of my personal focus and interest points. First, I'm a daughter of flight attendant myself, so I have been interested and involved in aviation ever since I was a kid. I've been traveling a lot. I've been participating in trainings of my mother, who was all the time trained for different kinds of accidents. Also, I have been working as a foreign affairs correspondent with Finnish medias. And already back in 2010, I was working in the foreign desk when the crash happened. So I've been looking into that. And thirdly, I have been looking into Russian information warfare for the majority of my career, and I found so many red flags all over the Smolensk information campaign put on by the Kremlin and the then Silovik clique, which is still in power today in Russia. So it's really a combination of many different personal interests. And as I looked into it years after years, and more of Russian disinformation and lies were spread about it, I just couldn't help but write about it. So I really started looking into it, making interviews. I have been reading so many different, all the crash reports that have been made about it. I have been making interviews with Polish experts, documentarists, as well as journalists, as well as family members of the victims. And also, I looked heavily and deeply into the Russian information warfare conducted against Poland and against international community about the whole crash.
So, what do you think after studying all of these documents? Because we had three commissions altogether, yeah, working on it. So one commission was Russian, one commission was Miller Commission, and the third was the commission founded by Antoni Macierewicz from Law and Justice. What do you think about these three reports? What is the difference between them? Which one is the most probably true?
I will definitely vote for the Macierewicz report. First, the Russian MAK report is pure trash. Conspiracy theories, doesn't include any scientific trajectory calculations, for example, doesn't include any of the elements of professionally made crash reports. Also, that Russian reports, as well as the so-called Miller report, they include so much Russian disinformation about the issue that altogether make them unbelievable. Also, they include material and argumentation based on falsified so-called evidence. Also, they are based on findings made in circumstances that have been manipulated by Russians. So that also takes all the credibility out of them. And you know what? Also, I'm sure you actually know it, there are so many scientists in Poland who already very soon after the MAK and Miller reports were being published, they found them uncredible and they started their own scientific investigations into the topic, and they gathered around the topic for years and made their reports, and they actually negatively verified the findings of the Russian MAK/Miller reports. And those findings were specifically about how the Russians and the Miller report claimed the crash had happened. So it's scientifically unverified from so many different angles that pretty much did it. So if I put all together my own interviews, the findings of the so many different Polish really skilled reporters who have been looking into this a lot, and then the findings of the scientists and findings of the Macierewicz report, that altogether is a credible case claiming that it's easy for me to claim that Russia had so much to do with causing the crash, as well as then trying to sabotage and hide the facts about the crash later on.
So what is your conclusion? That do you think that it was the attack, or just Russia, after all, used this catastrophe, this crash, for the special operation against Polish society?
Both. In my view, both. Both they organized it, the Russian security services, in close cooperation with Russian most high-profile military commanders, as well as the political regime, including Putin himself and oligarchs in charge of, for example, the aviation plan or the factory where the Tupolev was so-called overhauled 6 months prior to the crash. Them, in close cooperation with so many other Russian officials after the crash, attacked Poland, as well as then hid the facts and brainwashed not just the Russian audience, but also, unfortunately, Polish audience, or part of the Polish audience, as well as majority of international press, to believe that it was the cause of Polish pilots.
And do you have a feeling, or even also a knowledge, that by saying that and writing that it was the attack, it was planned and organized by Kremlin, you're actually joining one of the sides of the internal conflict in Poland as well? This is because this case is really, really influenced by the politics.
I don't see myself as taking any sides. I'm aware of the political disastrous division around this topic, but I am not a political figure. I don't have interest that is political in this, and I don't agree of taking any side. I have looked into this using journalistic guidelines, using my own journalistic and non-fiction authors' expertise, and I am outside of politics. If and when I have already been kind of like smeared as being part of that, or made me look like as I'm biased, or as if I'm representing, I have been really called a PIS propagandist. Seriously, I started to hear that smear the same day my book was published in Finland. So even people in Finland feel now, some of them, that I am a peace propagandist. But I have news for you, I am not.
Probably this impression is created on the Polish society because Michał Rachoń, who is actually pointed in the first sentence of your book, is a part of the Law and Justice propaganda machine. You know, he was for 8 years a face of Polish National TV, TVP, which was very far from being objective and being like BBC. You know, we cannot say that TVP was a Polish BBC because they have been using propaganda, and this is for sure. They have been supporting Law and Justice. They have been showing their perspective without any comments so many times, and they've been trying to crush the opposition as well for many years. And here in Poland, we all know what Michał Rachoń actually has been doing and what was his role.
Well, I personally I don't appreciate smearing my book sources and smearing a guy who originally I have learned to know from a very expert security journalistic point of view, who I originally have met in 2016 in a NATO conference in Warsaw, who was actually the only Polish journalist who back then was interested in the phenomenon of Russian trolls, and who have been interviewing me for his audiences in TVP numerous times about Russian information warfare and Russian trolls. So for me, he doesn't represent the things that you are now telling there. And I also just don't like this phenomenon of smearing information through messengers or smearing factual research by saying that someone who is mentioned in my book is allegedly a propagandist. I think that is filthy because it's also a technique of Russian information warfare, and it's kind of like this unintelligent mess under which are much more important questions hidden, such as the fact that Poland back in 2010 did not properly investigate what happened in Smolensk. And that is still now causing political turmoil, that is still now being used in information warfare, that it still should be investigated in a manner that is credible and believable and brings also justice to the victims' families and to the victims. The victims were also desecrated and smeared in the aftermath of the terrible methods or lack of methods that the Polish then government did not manage to take care of the horrible crash aftermath.
And do you think that this is possible to actually separate being objective and in the same time supporting one of the political sides? And we know that the Law and Justice has been pushing the version about the attack more than the other side of the Polish politics.
Right, but I haven't been interviewing any of the peace politicians for my book. I have not been following some peace politicians' leads. I have been talking with people who have been investigating this and working for different medias under different government parties, like times, under different governances. Let's just put it this way. So it's really interesting that you ask me this, because this, I feel, is coming from the Polish problematic division, which is similar to the division in United States, for example. But in Finland, I'm happy to say that so far we don't have this kind of information environment where a journalist would regularly be, targeted for being one or the other side if he or she brings out information that some of the political parties is using possibly in their own campaigns. You see, so I have been aware of this political division and this two-sided, really weird division of information about the Smolensk case, but I'm outside of it. And I have only been looking into information and disinformation based on its credibility. I am not being interested in whether it has been spread or used in propaganda by PO or PIS. It's not an issue for me. I have been looking into specifically the facts. So your original question, sorry about the long answer. Yes, I am all about objectivity and I am outside Polish politics, but I am aware that these divisions exist, but I really would want to also point out that thank God there are still information spaces which are not so heavily divided up as the Polish information space. It's actually really scary. It's really frightening. And I really hope that we can still preserve information spaces that are not so heavily divided.
So I have a feeling that Smolensk is actually still useful for propaganda, don't you think?
Of course, it has been completely weaponized as a topic. And you can see also, I tell about that in my book. In the interview with Marek Pisa, who is a Polish journalist, he actually explains this really well, that the Russians are still using it and bringing out information and pieces of information, photographs of, for example, the victims in blog posts in the Smolensk crash anniversary days, in order to really, really bring out emotions in people. And this is part of what they have been doing for 14 years and even more. They have been weaponizing the topic. And now it's really, really scary and disturbing to see how that weaponization is also brought to Finland. After I made this book, I became a target for Polish journalists who targeted me online, who started smearing me and my previous book, because I had, according to them, written lies and conspiracy theories about Smolensk, even though they haven't read my book, they don't know Finnish language, but they already knew what's in my book. And you know what? Then some Finnish journalists picked up those tweets, those X posts, and made them into their headlines and started write about my book being trashed in Poland and being peace propaganda. No, it's amazing, really. It's really amazing. And just a couple of weeks ago, it happened so that one journalist made a piece asking my publisher and my book's international rights agent and my book's German publisher that how come they are keeping this on market when my book is so controversial or bad, I don't know, suspicious something. So they are actually going after my book's very existence, and that I see as part of really long-term weaponization and radicalization of this whole Smolensk topic. You see, I'm sure you see, as a journalist, I have tried to just tell information about this crash, and all of a sudden, someone wants to take my book out of the market. What? Is this normal in Poland? Because in Finland, it's not. And in Russia, it is normal.
But also, I think in Czech Republic, they decide to don't publish the book at the end.
Yeah, you know why? Because they told me that they don't have enough courage. And they also cited some social media posts smearing me as peace propagandist. So they got out of, courage. They told it to me personally. So this is exactly why these smear campaigns are set up, to scare publishers, to scare journalists, to stay away from this whole topic. And not just this topic, but so many other topics too. I have been looking into this also in my previous book, and it just follows the playbook completely. Also, I have in my book here, that is now, maybe this will be soon censored, but it still can be found from Finnish libraries, for example. But I also have a big chapter about Russian information warfare in Germany. And in this chapter, I tell how a Russian security service connected RT/Raptly in Germany have been waging information warfare, exploiting local youngsters as their so-called troll workers in their video factory, and taking orders from Moscow and making editorial decisions in Moscow. And then when people have tried to blow the whistle and tell the truth about RT/Raptly in operating in Berlin, in NATO country, in Germany, then those people's books have been successfully taken away from the market in Germany, because RT has been then, this Russian information warfare machine has been basically threatening to sue if they continue to sell these books online in Germany. So this is exactly what the Kremlin is doing. They're trying to take the information out. But you know it because you're journalists. It's against the freedom of speech. People have the right to receive information and opinions without anyone restricting it.
I would never say that someone is not right because he has different political ideas than I have or my friends have. But definitely, some people in Poland, they can have this impression that the main heroes of your book, they come from the same political side, because Michał Rachoń, for example, Marek Pyza, Ewa Stankiewicz, they are recognized in Poland as far-right journalists cooperating with TVP for the last 8 years. And I'm definitely not saying that TVP, after taking control by the new government, is way better. Unfortunately, probably not. But still, there is this kind of impression that you didn't include too many people from the other side of the conflict. Maybe this is also right, because sometimes as journalists, we need to decide who is actually telling true and who is not. Do you have that?
Right.
Mhm.
I discussed with Marek Pyza, for example, on the course of my investigations and my interviews for the background of this book and what was published inside this book too. And Marek told me really well that he wishes that Polish journalists would let go of their divisions when it comes to Smolensk investigation, that the Smolensk investigation would be the most important investigation in Poland. And that and also he said, by the way, that when the crash happened and everyone saw the passenger list, every journalist in Poland cried, everyone along those lines of division. And I also view it like that. I don't see those, far right smears or far left communists, all the same to me. I'm interested in who looked into the topic most, who made the most credible argumentation in the past, who wrote hundreds or even thousands stories. Marek wrote. So I wouldn't then be interviewing someone else who has themselves used suspicious sources, like I have been seeing so many suspicious sources on the course of my investigation, which I would never use as a journalist. So I base my my selection of interviewees based on who has the best, most credible arguments, those arguments that would hold in court.
And what about Donald Tusk, for example, to be interviewed? What about Eva Kopacz, who was there in this day?
Yeah, I made the choice of not interviewing them because I am citing them. I am telling what they have been saying and what is publicly known in Poland, what they have been saying. So they are included. Their views are heavily included in the book.
And your book will be published soon in Poland, also by Michał Rachoń, and he's actually Newborn Transatlantic Foundation. We can say that's what I just read on the website demagogue.org.pl. Because they are analyzing your book, they are analyzing everything. So I will try to also ask you a few questions about to comment this article.
Right, all right. I haven't read the article, so I wouldn't know what's in it, but of course. Does it have a date when the book will be published? Because it's interesting, because I don't even know.
No.
All right, okay. Yeah, but did you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, like, is it sure that Michał Rachoń will publish your book? Because, maybe some people will have the same impression as we are talking about right now. Maybe it's better to find another publisher, for example.
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
It's not a suggestion, it's just a question.
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, this I would say would be a question to my book's international rights seller who makes these deals with different countries' publishers. This isn't even I don't choose my publishers abroad. Yeah, but I'm happy that Michal has taken this task. I'm really happy that it will be published in Polish too.
And are you sure that the translation, how will you check the translation, for example, of your book?
What are you insinuating, or
I'm
where is
I'm
this
just
coming from?
I'm just asking, like, are you sure that this book will be translated well, will be translated good, not like a propaganda? Because unfortunately, Michał Rachoń it is seen in Poland as propagandist. So this is like very delicate topic, and changing even one word or something can be very important to understand your book.
All right. Well, I'm not going to comment there. That's speculation, and that's quite heavy for Michal too, don't you think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
You're
probably
basically saying that
important.
he would be like changing some words for my book? Like seriously?
There is a chance always, that something bad can happen. Even you mentioned that some journalists from Poland didn't have a chance to read your book in Polish before, and they already started to comment what is inside.
Right. Right, exactly, yeah. Well, I don't think this is I really feel awkward. I don't want to participate in insinuating that Michal would be changing some materials in my book. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay, I understand. And
yeah.
did you have a knowledge about the division of Polish society before you started to dig in this topic?
Yes, but obviously I don't know all of the nuances.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do like probably my last question is do you regret that you wrote this book? Now will you
Why
do
would
it?
I? No, why would I?
Because because of this whole atmosphere created about your book right now, Polish media publishing articles saying that you have been manipulated by Michał Rachoń. some publishers don't want to publish your book.
That is
Russian
so
propaganda
sexistic. That is so disgusting and sexistic to say that I have been manipulated by some guy. And I have been hearing this for over 10 years almost. After I started as a journalist to look into Russian information warfare and so-called Russian trolls, and then evolved into a bigger and bigger investigation also into Russian hybrid warfare. One of these most disgusting claims about me have always involved some kind of men who are directing me, giving me orders, manipulating me, lying to me. Usually before Michal, it has been, according to the trolls, I have been manipulated by CIA and the US security services and NATO, and what else? Of course, Estonian security services. And that is so disgusting because it gives a really disgusting image of me as a journalist and as a human, as if I wouldn't, know true from fact, true from lies, or be able to like even operate without some manipulative man behind me. So that's really sexistic. That's really nasty, I have to say. So I don't regret. I also knew that there will be smear campaigns against myself. So I just see this as part of my work, unfortunately. And, I understand that so many people rather not look into this topic, but I am really content that I looked into this topic because it had been bugging me for so many years. And finally, I was also able to give the possibility to the family members of these victims to also speak out because they have also been smeared in Poland, which is also so disgusting. So they have been smeared as conspiracy theorists and also as some far-right, extremists and all that. For me, they are humans who deserve their stories to be heard, and I am telling those stories. And also, I have to say that there is so much good feedback coming to me about the book. And, I have to say, for example, from security people, security experts, also aviation experts, even air force experts have been giving me really positive feedback from the book. So no, some demagogue blog or some Russian trolls are not the ones who get to decide what majority of the people think about my book or my work or me as a journalist.
And do you think is it happening again? Because after your first book, you had to escape from your own country. You had to move because you've been attacked so much by the Russian propaganda. So do you think it's repeating after your next book again?
I have been prepared to move if needed. But I guess Poland won't be the place then for me because I've been warned that there will be a massive hate campaign. And I understand that there will be a hate campaign coming from people who believe that Russian lies about Smolensk crash. But I'm prepared, so I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
So what will happen later? What do you think? People will understand? What are you trying to tell them that Russia was involved somehow, in this crash, or definitely into the events after it? Yeah, even our conversation, even our interview, is probably. And the effect of the Russian propaganda about Smolensk, which is happening for the last 15 years.
I am happy whenever my audience tells me that they are happy. So my audiences have been really happy that I have been telling them this information about Smolensk, as well as other cases which are in my book. And so I'm just happy with that. And I am already writing my next book, and there will be new cases and new revelations and scandals about how Russian information warfare and psychological manipulation is directed against us. So yeah, I won't stop looking into it because I find it so fascinating, and also one of the gravest security threats to the very existence of Western countries, and not just Western countries, but some other countries too. So um, mm, yeah, so I am just happily writing new book.
Do you think your book about Smolensk can change the history or write the history actually, because we still don't know what is the truth?
I think that's a really interesting question, actually. It's a really big question. I never thought of that, even though I think I should have been thinking about it because it's said that journalists usually write the first version of history. But I am at least bringing together one coherent um, combination of the information about the Smolensk case, which I have found the most credible. So I hope that it serves people in their own search of truth. So at least it has been fundamental in my own personal history to write about this, but I don't think that it will have bigger impact, unfortunately, because Russia has been writing the history already so heavily, and it has been locked into the public consciousness as well as to Wikipedia. Even in pop culture, there are Russian theories about the Smolensk. So it's difficult to change that.
And will you change something in your book if you could?
No,
Or
no.
maybe find the other experts, for example, who are thinking that it wasn't the attack?
I already read about those experts and they weren't credible. And I tell about them in my book.
Thank you very much for the conversation.
Thank you.